Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
Gene Hackman, a Hollywood legend with unforgettable roles and a career that commands admiration, is the subject of a shocking case of betrayal. During the estate battle, his daughter, Leslie Ann Hackman, was exposed for her terrifying schemes, including mysterious financial transactions and shocking testimony. The case sent shockwaves through the public. In this video, we will start the inquiry and learn the real truth. When Gene Hackman's estate dispute was brought to court, Leslie Ann Hackman believed she could easily claim the majority of her father's fortune as the daughter of a Hollywood leg. However, she did not anticipate that investigators had been watching her suspicious actions since the beginning of the legal battle. Investigators scrutinized Leslie Ann's every move, including phone calls, emails, and financial transactions. They discovered that before Gene Hackman was officially declared deceased, she had already contacted lawyers to divide his assets. Leslie Ann altered inheritance documents and transferred properties into her own name before her father's death, revealing her greed and raising questions about her knowledge of Gene Hackman's death. Bank records revealed large sums of money had been funneled into her private account prior to her father's death, providing crucial evidence in the case. During the investigation, authorities discovered proof of Gene Hackman's lack of medical treatment. After reviewing his medical records, they discovered irregularities. Gene Hackman had a history of heart disease and needed regular medication. However, authorities discovered that essential medications were missing from his home. If he had stopped taking his prescribed medication without a substitute, his health could have deteriorated quickly, potentially leading to his death. The disappearance of these drugs was not a mere coincidence. Investigators suspected that someone intentionally withheld medication, worsening his condition. Leslie Ann Hackman, who stood to benefit the most from her father's death, was the person with the greatest financial motivation. The investigation took a dramatic turn and became more than just an inheritance dispute. Leslie Ann Hackman may have been the mastermind of a sinister conspiracy, as evidenced by strange circumstances. Leslie Ann Hackman's bank records contradicted, her testimony in court revealing abnormal transactions involving substantial sums of money being taken and transferred to several bank accounts. The fact that some of these transactions occurred prior to Gene Hackman's official death raises further suspicions. How could Leslie Ann have predicted what would happen? Investigators discovered private emails and text messages indicating that, while Gene Hackman was still alive, Leslie Ann had already begun discussing inheritance matters with her legal team. She requested modifications to the will and sought ways to legally secure her claim to the assets. The emails also revealed her desire to speed up the process as time was running out. Leslie Ann researched offshore accounts, asset protection, measures, and legal loopholes to easily inherit her father's inheritance. The sudden influx of funds into Gene Hackman's personal accounts, both domestic and international, suggested premeditated financial maneuvers. A forensic financial audit revealed massive sums of money being funneled into undisclosed accounts, including those in countries with strict bank secrecy laws. These transactions occurred prior to Gene Hackman's death. One of her offshore accounts was tied to a shell corporation that did not conduct real business operations. This shell firm, created months before John P.'s death, received repeated six-figure deposits. Investigators suspected a scheme to conceal payments and make tracing transactions more difficult, in addition to financial evidence. Leslie Ann's actions in the days leading up to her father's death were scrutinized. Surveillance footage from her visits to Gene Hackman's residence showed her entering his home multiple times, often late at night with no clear reason. She was seen carrying documents and small bags, which she never explained medical records. Authorities reviewed Gene Hackman's prescriptions and found inconsistencies. This prompted detectives to investigate a possible CH killing. Leslie Ann purposely limited his access to life-saving care. The inheritance disagreement quickly turned into a more serious issue. The evidence suggests that the woman took purposeful steps to safeguard her inheritance. potentially at the expense of her father's life due to financial inconsistencies. Suspicious legal maneuvers and possible medical interference. The investigation into Leslie Ann Hackman's case revealed that she was not a devoted daughter managing her father's estate, but rather a calculated scheme to seize his fortune. Leslie Ann Hackman painstakingly plotted each action to gradually gain control of her father's possessions. Prosecutors discovered that key legal documents had been altered prior to G. Hackman's death. This revealed that Leslie Ann manipulated financial transactions and forged legal paperwork to justify her actions. Her involvement in tampering with documents suggests a level of premeditation that goes beyond opportunism and is highly incriminating. Investigators discovered backdated amendments to Gene Hackman's will that disproportionately favored Leslie Ann, giving her direct access to a significant portion of his estate. These changes were made at a time when Gene Hackman was reportedly in poor health, raising concerns about his awareness of them. Authorities investigated not only financial data, but also the timing of Leslie Ann's acts. Surveillance footage, phone records, and email conversations revealed a worrying pattern long before G. Hackman's deteriorating condition became public. Leslie Ann had already taken steps to claim his assets, including contacting estate lawyers, withdrawing large sums of money, and selling valuable personal items. The medical report was particularly damaging evidence. Gene Hackman's health records indicated that he needed specific medications to manage his heart condition. However, investigators discovered that some of these medications went missing in the weeks leading up to his death. It is unclear whether this was due to negligence or if Leslie Ann intentionally withheld treatment. The growing evidence casts a heavy shadow over the case. Prosecutors expressed little doubt. Leslie Ann Hackman was a key figure in what appeared to be a sinister scheme. Eventually, the inevitable happened. Leslie Ann was arrested unexpectedly, causing a national media frenzy. The trial was a national spectacle, with prosecutors presenting their case piece by piece, exposing Leslie Ann's deception. Leslie Ann has carefully crafted the narrative of innocence crumbled when a daughter who claimed to be acting in her father's best interests was found to be a cold, calculated opportunist. The truth was disclosed, and there was no going back on. The verdict and utter demise. Leslie Ann Hackman was found guilty of multiple charges, including grand larceny, financial manipulation, and obstruction of justice. The overwhelming evidence against her made it impossible for her to defend herself and ensured her punishment. Her sentence was severe. Leslie Ann was sentenced to prison and stripped of her right to inherit from her father's estate. The court ruled that she had forfeited any legal claim to Gene Hackman's fortune due to her fraudulent actions. All assets and funds she attempted to funnel into secret accounts were seized and reclaimed. Leslie Ann Hackman's name became synonymous with betrayal and greed due to the media's coverage of her trial. She went from being an heir to a pariah, whose ambition had destroyed her future. She had been used to a life of privilege and comfort, but now faced a grim reality. Leslie had lost control over her finances, image, and freedom behind bars. Her luxurious estates, extravagant spending, and life of ease were gone. Her powerful lawyers had abandoned her, and the high society circles she once belonged to had distanced themselves. Her downfall was complete, with no money, inheritance, or reputation to salvage. Please share your ideas in the comments, like, share, and subscribe to the channel for future videos.